So the biggest mistake is probably doing their own books. That's the biggest mistake. Not recognizing when it's time to get a professional. And then because you don't have a remember, we want to be real estate professionals because that's going to get the biggest deduction. But so
Right.
that means you're running a business. When you're running a business, it has to be documented properly. You understand? So the habits are different. So, okay, it's not so busy in the beginning. Excel is pretty good. It's
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Angie Toney, is a tax professional with 30 years of experience. She has a background in corporate internal auditing. She's a CPA, certified tax strategist, certified fraud examiner. She holds a master's degree in global management. Welcome to the show, Angie.
oh, I so appreciate having you. I'm glad I stumbled across you.
It's great to meet you. And when we talk about tax strategy, when we talk about anything related to accounting and real estate, I was mentioning to you in the green room, people really should get started with this as soon as they get their business up and running, especially in real estate.
Yes, they absolutely certainly. I have real estate professional investors and people who just, short term rentals, all kinds of things. And as soon as they see the IRS logo, shut down and they don't really do what they're supposed to do. Yes.
It's one of these things where I can speak from personal experience, and I think a lot of people will relate to this. You don't tend to think about this until you got a big tax bill to pay, and then you're like, okay, now I got to, get into the weeds here and understand how this whole thing works. How do most people, in your perspective, get started with bookkeeping and with tax strategy?
I think the problem is, first of all, we're brainwashed for corporate mentality. We've worked for someone else usually. People don't just jump in, even though I've met a few who from their young days, like 18, 20, 21, already owning property. And so they kind of just whirlwind themselves into it. But most people have a brainwash of a corporate mentality. Oh, someone's doing it for me. You get a paycheck, they withhold, all good. What's this estimated tax thing? And then, as you know, too, with real estate agents, the income is cyclical. So sometimes it's like, feast or famine. And then you're like, well, I don't have it. And then when they do have it, it's spend, 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 and not considering the tax.
Yeah,
And
I
then they,
mean, you mentioned this feast or famine, market cycles and it being cyclical. That's very true, and it's real estate agents, it's real estate investors, it's lenders as well, and people in the mortgage space. And one of the things that I think gets tricky then is you think, okay, well, I'm not making money right now, therefore I don't need to have great books, and I don't need to think about tax strategy. Well, one of the things is you might not be making money in January, February, or March, but come November or December, you might have a windfall, a flip that goes well, or sell a property. And now you're kind of having to play catch up.
Dylan, you know what? It's a discipline too, because people are just not used to that type of a situation. And so from January, even if it's a little trickling in, start putting away. Sort of like they have this profit first methodology where it's like the envelope method on steroids. You put a little aside, you come in, put some towards your compensation personally, and then put some towards the tax. And also, you have to understand the rules before you get the big bucks. And then, because what you're doing, you're trading your time for money. And that's what people ended up doing. And then they don't want to pay the professional to do the books when the money starts getting there. I'll do it myself. And then that's where they start getting into trouble.
Into these issues. When people are on W-2, I think I was shocked to learn this. And now, of course, my eyes are wide open to it, is you can start getting involved in real estate and then you can offset your W-2 tax burden in many cases. And there's a number of different ways to do that from what I understand. But people sometimes aren't thinking like that. Instead of thinking, well, I'm trying to get into real estate. Well, the miles that they're driving, looking at properties could potentially be a deduction. If they're doing any type of marketing or self promotion, that could potentially be a deduction. And so I think even folks who are kind of part time, whether it's an agent or an investor or just getting started, right? These are ways that they could potentially offset their W-2 tax burden.
Yes, but another part that confuses people when they get into real estate, they shouldn't be focused on, let me get into real estate to save taxes. Real estate is more about wealth building. And then you build the strategies around the real estate. Because here's the shocker, thresholds when you make a certain amount, you're because we love the depreciation. That's what's keeping the losses on the property. And you're going to be shocked to find you can't offset it if you make too much and not a real estate professional. This is for my W-2 people. And they get upset that, wait, I got into real estate to save taxes, and that's not the case.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
You've currently got to have that full-time real estate operator
Yes.
designation. Walk us through that.
Yeah, it's a real estate professional definition that the IRS has, and the states, by the way, if you're in an income tax state, it's a thing. I actually have a client where the IRS hasn't bothered the person as a real estate professional, but New York State is not having it. They're a strict state when it comes to the hours that you spend. So a lot of your personal services time, other than outside of your W-2, more than half of it has to be materially participating in the property. And then the 750-hour thing that you're actually doing the real estate. So it's kind of a complex definition. And when you're not having a contemporaneous log, because the IRS is like, well, I think I did about 750 or 800. And no, it has to be exactly how many hours you spent, and it better be 750 or more.
So if folks are, getting started, I'd like to get into the weeds a little bit here, if we can. Maybe give away
Yeah.
some of the gold, but not the whole bar here. Is, let's say I'm a teacher, or I may be working for the city, right? But I'm also looking at getting into real estate wholesale, or I may be looking at getting into like Airbnb arbitrage, or I may be looking at acquiring my first rental property. I may be going to foreclosure auctions, etc. And I'm logging all this time actively looking for deals, actively driving around, talking to sellers, knocking doors, calling foreclosure leads. Are these things that would count as like real estate hours?
Yes. So it can't be like research. That's different. Like, let me go research an area. No, you're actively looking for the property, meeting and, visiting the property. Yes, keep that log. Those hours do count. And I always suggest too, entity structure is a big thing because if you own a business, say a real estate business, it could be a C corporation and you're at least 5% or greater shareholder, it's easier to qualify for the real estate professional. But as a teaser, because I don't want to go, how crazy into the rules and what does that look like. But I would just want to put that out there.
Well, you mentioned the rules and how complex this gets. It's complex for tax professionals. It changes every year, right? And so people, this was one thing that surprised me and still does is, you could be thinking like, hey, this is the tax strategy that worked, 2, 3 years ago. It could literally be totally different, irrelevant now potentially.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
We had a reform in 2017. Now we have this one big, beautiful bill act last year. They all come with something, and that's why when you vet your professional, hey, what training have you taken? I heard there's this OB3 bill. What happened since reform? Did the tax returns change? Like the schedules are changing and so on. So, yes, make sure you vet your professional and know these things.
Now, when we talk specifically about, real estate, agents, investors, really folks that are involved in any segment of the real estate space, lenders, et cetera, finding a tax professional, I have this experience. It can feel like a little bit frustrating because I'm like, I don't really know how to vet these people. This is my first time doing this. What questions should I be asking? Where do I find them, right? Do I go with the same person that my buddy is using who's not at all involved in real estate? It almost feels like I'm doing job interviews in a way. How would you recommend folks who, again, are maybe that first time, with keeping their books or with hiring a tax strategist, tax professional, how would you recommend they go about their search?
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend seeing a few, getting on calendar if the professional doesn't want to meet you ahead of time. And a lot of them charge just to have a 15-minute conversation. To me, that's not a relationship because also not only are you looking at the technical skills, you're also looking for a relationship, someone you can, because real estate is all year.
It's all
After the tax is filed, right? August, you see a commercial property that I've never done this before. I should talk to a professional. And if your professional won't see you and charges you, nickel and dime, I'm not saying the time isn't important. It is, depending on the amount of information you need. But you should look to see if they're credentialed. Find out how they train. What are their what is their philosophy on risk? Are they going to push the envelope? Are they conservative? What do you like? You got to make sure you fit with that kind. The IRS does have a directory. You can look up tax professionals on their directory as well. But make sure you meet a few.
Now, one of the things that I think people often overlook is this idea of tax strategy, when it comes in conjunction with everything else that they're doing, especially again, if they are kind of, getting started or on that on ramp to going full time. And there's a lot of people again who won't even think about this until they get to the point of, hey, I've got a big tax bill to pay. And that's kind of when people sometimes get into trouble with, I'll just kick this can down the curb. I'll figure it out later, right? When folks are on that on ramp, maybe it's their first year going full time. Maybe it's, they just brought someone on and, now they have a little bit more complicated books. What are some of the first steps that they should take, in order to have a solid foundation?
The first thing is you recognize that you need it. Your time is too valuable. You'll make more money looking at these properties and securing these properties than doing your own books that you're going to make a mess of anyway, right? And especially if you have a different structure, you've elected S corp or you're a C corp, the balance sheet is different, the tax returns are different. I do want to stress that a tax return is a historical document. It already happened. Year ended, you filed, and that's it. A lot of professionals are going to ask for receipts and this and that and put it together and file it, and that's it. No strategy. But the real strategist will talk you through why something is the way. I go line by line with my clients. A lot of people, you will be surprised how old they are and don't understand how to read a tax return. A
Yeah.
contract You're signing with the government on the penalties of perjury. So you got to make sure you're getting some advising along with the volume, because some preparers just do returns. That's it, no advising. And in all fairness, that is a service. And if you're not paying for the advising, you may not get it.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
It's interesting because we're talking about, advising on your tax return. I think most people, 90% of people who are going about filing their taxes are going through this, with some level of confusion or not understanding, and they're kind of just trusting carte blanche, the service that, is filing their taxes for them. And that then has this kind of snowball effect into everything else related, right? So you're thinking, okay, well, I was able to do that, and I kind of, did that at the last minute. I can kind of approach books the same way. I can kind of approach the way that I'm hiring people and the structure of the business, and so this does tend to blend together, maybe create some bad habits. You mentioned earlier, Angie, people making a mess of their books. I've spoken to a lot of people who keep their own books or have some type of like VA who keeps the books for them. When people are keeping their books, what's the biggest mistake that you see?
Woo! So the biggest mistake is probably doing their own books. That's the biggest mistake. Not recognizing when it's time to get a professional. And then because you don't have remember, we want to be real estate professionals because that's going to get the biggest deduction. But so
Right.
that means you're running a business. When you're running a business, it has to be documented properly. You understand? So the habits are different. So okay, it's not so busy in the beginning. Excel is pretty good. It's a way of keeping track of all your receipts and so on. We don't want to see Ziploc bags and we don't want to see shoe boxes of receipts because that means your bookkeeping wasn't done and that's more work for the professional. That's not the same thing as doing taxes. Taxes are coming from financial statements, which are gathered or accumulated from all those receipts, right? Gross revenue. Some people get 1099s, like if you have a property manager and they'll give you a 1099 showing you the rent. Or, if you're a real estate agent, you get it from like a Keller Williams or something like that. Then you have to know what you're deducting. The mileage, as I said, contemporaneous log. Some deductions are considered strict substantiation by the IRS. That means down to the penny, down to the mile, and mileage happens to be one of them. Cell phone is something that's like, we make some personal calls. You can do 90-10, 80-20. Some of it is deductible and some of it may not be. But, if you're running a true business, generally speaking, they won't mind if you take 100% because once in a while your grandmother calls you, once in a while you call the doctor. They're not going to nitpick on that. Again, that's not a strict substantiation. So
Versus the
part of
mileage.
it is right. If you're not doing the books correctly, you're going to overpay taxes, which I feel is worse than underpaying taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people echo that sentiment, especially, going back to an earlier point, if you're coming from corporate W-2 and this is, a new venture for you, it's a mindset shift. And it can be I can speak from personal experience, it can take some time for some people. Some people hop right in, but others, it can be a mindset shift and it can be a hurdle to overcome. And you kind of have to see, okay, I've really got to do this because, I don't know what I'm doing, or this is just something that I don't want to have to learn every nook and cranny of when there's already people out there who are great at this. We are coming up on time here, though, Angie. Any
Yeah.
new projects that you're working on? And then, as well, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with your team?
Yeah, we have rental property in New York, Florida, my husband and I, and we would like to get more into flipping. We've put that on pause. We both had parents. We're older now. Our parents passed away, and so some hiccups along the way. And by the way, that's life. That's business. And so we have to fit different things in. So we're doing things like that. We have college students too. So that's a thing. But I want to put out to my audience that you have to think about your full time now. We have to think about retirement. We have to think about healthcare because there are ways to do this and get it out of your business and don't have to worry about, well, let me go back to a W 2 to get that. So I want people to think about their business that way. Their real estate business that way. For me, I am the CEO of Oasis Tax Advisory Services, Inc. So it's myoasistax.com. You can visit the website and fill out a contact form. There's also a place where you can schedule on my calendar. I have a half an hour complimentary strategy session just to talk, see if I'm a good fit.
Angie, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us.
Dylan, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Education should be free.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.